I know this topic seems kind of negative, but I feel like sometimes people just need to hear the hard truth.
Won't nobody love you the way they should. Won't nobody check up on you, make sure you're good. Won't nobody check those body tremors for your neck.
Hey everyone, my name is Becky Park and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark and eBay. And on this channel, I typically make what sold videos as well as tip videos, as well as some vlogs and haul videos of things that I've thrifted and stuff. But today I thought that we just needed to sit down and talk about why aren't you successful? And maybe you're watching this going, I am successful. And if that's the case, awesome, good for you. Maybe keep watching just so that you understand some of the traps that people fall into. And really, there are only two. Like, I feel like there are two things that really hold people back from having the reselling business, or really having whatever it is, having fill in the blank that they want. It's really two things, and maybe there are a lot of other things, but these are like the two biggest things that I've been thinking about. So let's just jump right in. Number one, I think the reason why you are not successful is because of how you are defining your success. There are a lot of people out there who are probably doing the same thing that you're doing, except they're doing it better. And you're asking yourself, why aren't I at that level yet? How come I'm not as good as that person? Yada, yada, yada. And I mean, you kind of answered it right then and there. The reason why you're not at the same level as them, a lot of the time, is because they've been at it for much longer and they've gone through the same growing pains that you're going through right now. And they were once in your shoes saying, why aren't I any better at this? How come I'm not finding any success? But they pushed through and now they're on the other side where they're able to experience that success and they're able to reap the rewards of all of their hard work. I think that, a lot of times people will come at people who get on YouTube and share their secrets about how to be successful in the reselling business and all of that. But realistically, we share because we know that there's a very small percentage of people who are actually going to do the work. Because what we do is actually pretty hard. It's not easy to go out and do the research on what kind of stuff is going to sell and sell for top dollar. It's not easy to then, take good pictures of those items. A lot of people want to throw their items on the floor, take pictures of it and call it a day. But the people who really want to make top dollar for every item, they're going to go through lengths to make sure that their pictures look good. I even know of someone who is a full-time reseller and she hires a model to wear all of the clothing that she sells in her Poshmark closet because she knows that by doing so, she's going to make more money on those items and her items are going to sell faster. There is a sacrifice that comes with being really good at what you do, and that sacrifice is often time. Sometimes that sacrifice is money. The sacrifice is falling on your face in failure over and over again, but then getting back up and being like, I'm not going to stay down. I'm going to learn from that mistake and I'm going to keep going. And a lot of people don't have the patience to go through that. And so you get a lot of people who quit, or they just kind of do things halfway and then they get upset that they're not experiencing the same kind of success as the person who is every day asking themselves, how can I improve? How can I keep growing? What can I do to be better? If you want to do the bare minimum, then you have to expect bare minimum results. So that's the first thing I would say is a lot of times people are not experiencing success because one, they just haven't been at it for very long, which that's not your fault. Everyone starts at the beginning. Like when I first started, I was selling like one thing every 2 weeks and I was throwing a party every time I sold something. Like I would call my husband or text and I'd be like, we sold something. Like it was super exciting. And I didn't think that I was going to sell something every single day when I first started out because one, I didn't even think that that was a thing. I was like, surely nobody is making that much money on this app called Poshmark. But two, I also knew that I was new at it and there was no reason for me to be amazing at it right away. Something that my daughter will say to me a lot of times, because she's like super into singing, she'll say, it's not fair because people like Idina Menzel, they're just so good and I'm not that good. And I'm like, correction, Idina Menzel did not wake up amazing and with that voice. Idina Menzel woke up every day that she decided she wanted to be a singer and she worked on her voice. Therefore, she is now the Idina Menzel that you know, and she didn't wake up like that. Contrary to what Beyonce says, she did not wake up like that. She woke up, there was a team of people around her to do her hair and her makeup and all that stuff. And Beyonce is another example of somebody who did not wake up with that voice, but she worked her butt off for the career that she has today. She worked her butt off when it came to dancing and singing and all that kind of stuff. Something I tell my students all the time is that the most successful people are not necessarily the most talented ones. The most successful people are the ones who outworked everybody else. And so the question you have to ask yourself is, are you willing to outwork the person next to you? And if not, chances are they're going to be more successful than you. So that's the first thing I would say. Who are you comparing yourself to, and where are they in their journey compared to you? Now, this kind of ties into the second thing that I think really helps fuel people's lack of success, is kind of along the same lines as the first thing, but I really think it's spending an inordinate amount of time comparing yourself to other people because of platforms like Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube. I think we know in our minds that platforms like Instagram, for example, people are generally using those platforms to show the highlight reel of their life or the highlight reel of their business. Very few people are going to show you those scenes from their lives where they are laying in fetal position because an investment that they were just sure was going to pay the big bucks did not work out the way that they thought, and now they're in debt. People on Instagram are not showing the fact that they have to sacrifice so much in order to get as much as they do out of their business. They're sacrificing time with family. They're sacrificing time that they can be spending on self-care or even just on their health. There's a lot of things that you don't see, and what you do see is really impressive and really amazing, but you're not seeing the whole picture. So again, sometimes we're comparing ourselves to people who are much farther along in their journey than we are and who have overcome all sorts of obstacles, and yet we feel like we have a reason to sit there in our second week of reselling and look at someone like Rally Roots, who's been doing this for like 4 or 5 years, and be like, how come I don't have a warehouse filled to the brim with all this stuff and over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and this and that? And I'm telling you, it's such a toxic way to use your energy, to look at what other people are doing and ask yourself, how come I'm not there? I am Asian, if you can tell. I'm Korean, and I feel like part of our DNA is to compare ourselves to other people. From the time that I was a wee little one, I was always being compared to others around me, whether my grades were as good as theirs, whether I was as pretty as that person. And that's kind of how I grew up, was asking myself, how do I stack up compared to everyone else around me? And I have to tell you, like, I've gone through years of reprogramming my brain to stop myself from thinking that way, because it's just not healthy. It's just not helpful. And it's not fair to myself. It's not fair to myself because my context is 100% different from somebody else's context. So I used the example of Rally Roots a little bit ago, who I love, by the way. Rally Roots is a wonderful reselling couple. Now, there are a lot of differences between Rally Roots and myself. For example, they are a reselling couple. They do their reselling business together. They're all in. They don't really do anything else outside of reselling except for their YouTube channel, which is still kind of tied into reselling. They don't have children. They do have a couple of really cute dogs. They live in Florida. So those are some facts about Rally Roots. I am also in a married relationship, but my husband does not do reselling. He helps out with my reselling business. He gets stains out of clothing. He will go thrifting with me sometimes. But generally speaking, reselling is kind of like my thing. And he watches from afar and smiles every time I deposit a large amount of money into our bank account. I have 2 young children. I have 0 dogs. I have a full-time job as a high school choir teacher, and I live in Illinois. Those are all things that make me different from Rally Roots, and those are all reasons why it would be really stupid for me to sit there and compare myself to Rally Roots and their business. If I wanted to sit there and pin myself against them and say, well, they're doing this and they're doing that and they're making these kinds of numbers and da-da, I would depress myself. But why? Like, why would I go through that when our contexts are so different? They are living a completely different life than me, and their life allows them to do a lot more for their reselling business and for their YouTube channel and for, all these different things. My life doesn't allow for those things to happen because of the fact that I am who I am. I'm living the life that I'm living, and that's okay. That's how it was designed to be. I'm supposed to live this life. They're supposed to live that life. They're supposed to have the business that they do, and I have the business that I do. And I think that too often we are comparing ourselves to people who are doing all these amazing things, but have been at it for so much longer and have really different contexts. Even the fact that I live in Illinois, and in central Illinois for that matter. So, most times people think Illinois and they're like, oh, you're in Chicago. No, I am not. If I were in Chicago, my thrifting would probably be much better. It would be much more expensive, but it would be better. I would have a lot more options. People in Chicago are wearing nicer things. They're wearing more expensive things. People are not really wearing that kind of stuff where I live. And so for me, I do find a lot of bread and butter brands. I do sell a lot of bread and butter brands. I don't have the luxury of only thrifting items that will profit me at least $50 or more, because then I would usually come home from thrifting trips empty-handed. So again, my business model is going to be drastically different than those of people even who live in larger metropolitan areas. And that's not to say that, oh, it's not fair and of course they're going to find better stuff. It's just a fact. Like, it's just how the cookie crumbles. So I think that for some people, apps like Instagram and Facebook and even YouTube can be really dangerous, because for some people, they're not able to see everything that I just talked about. They're not able to see that their life is so drastically different than the lives of the people that they're seeing on Instagram and YouTube. And rather than learning from them and taking information from them, they just get upset. And I say this because I see this a lot. I see this a lot in the comments that are left on people's Instagram posts where they're posting, their big sales and their big numbers. I'm seeing this in people's YouTube videos, in their comment section, people saying like, oh, well, all those numbers are fake, or they didn't even find that at that thrift store, or those boxes are empty, like there's not even anything in there that person sold. A lot of times our envy turns into hate, and it just really shows off the worst that's in us. And so again, it's like you have to really know yourself. And when I'm not being careful, I'm just going to be 100% real with you. When I'm not being careful, I can go there. My mind can go there. I can look at someone's Instagram post and think all these horrible things to myself and have like that evil Cheshire cat smile, because I'm justifying in my head why they're successful and why I'm not, because surely it's not any fault of my own and they're lying or they're making things up or they're cheating somehow. And I'm able to say all these things to make myself feel better about myself. That's if I'm being honest. So again, in that moment, I have to sort of reprogram my brain so that I can look at the situation with a little bit more clarity and say, no, they've worked really hard for this. They have devoted this many years to being this good at what it is that they do, because like most things, reselling is something that you get better at the more you do it. And I have only been at it for X number of years. Hopefully by the time I've been at it for, let's say they've been doing it for 5 years, hopefully by the time I get to 5 years, I can be half as good as them. And until then, I'm going to keep learning and growing and improving. I know another way I can get really down on myself is with YouTube. Oh my goodness, like sometimes I will sit there and see how many views a video is getting compared to how many views someone else's video is getting. And I'll be like, how come I'm not getting more views? How come that person is outperforming me? And I will spiral, and then I have to bring myself back again and be like, you know what? Rather than sit here and be hateful and spiteful towards this person, what can I learn from their success? That should be like the magic question. Every time you find yourself getting jealous or envious of someone else's success, ask yourself, what can I do to mimic their success? What are they doing right? And how can I also do that same thing? Some things you can do because they're in your control, and some things you just simply can't. Like, I cannot source better things in my area. That's just not a possibility. I can like source on Poshmark, or I can do more retail arbitrage. I can do these different things. I'm never, ever, ever shopping at the thrift stores in my area going to come home and be able to do a label porn picture the same way that someone in LA can, because people here are not wearing the same thing as people in LA are. Like, they just are not. I know I'm kind of like all over the place with this in this video, and I apologize. This is just something that I've been stewing on for quite some time. And I'm not coming at it from a place of thinking that I have it all figured out, because clearly I don't. I mean, I still have these days when I can go down that rabbit hole of just not being the best version of myself because of something that triggered me on YouTube or on Instagram or whatever. And a lot of it has to do with us learning more about ourselves and understanding where we're at when it comes to these sort of things. If you know that you are easily triggered and you get upset easily when you see certain things, then don't be on Instagram, or honestly, like, unfollow certain people who just don't bring you joy when you come across their picture in your feed. Even if it's just because they are making like these crazy sales, but if that makes you feel horrible about yourself, unfollow them for the time being. Honestly, it's better than following them, seeing those posts, getting super down on yourself, getting mad at them for no reason, and turning into this person that you don't want to be. Wait till you are at a place when you can look at someone else's success and be happy for them. And if you're not there right now, that is okay, because everyone, again, is in a different part of their journey, even when it comes to like being a good person. And for some people, it's just harder than it is for others. I had a student who I had to sit down with in the hallway one day, and he was just so upset. And at first I thought it was because this other person had received this accolade that he had not. And he said, that's part of it. And he's like, but more than that, I'm so upset that I can't find it in myself to be happy for her. He's like, because I like her as a person, and she's my friend. I want to be happy for her, but I can't. And that makes me a horrible person. And I was like, it does not make you a horrible person. You are an amazing person for, one, being willing to name it and say, this is how I'm feeling. And I know it's kind of ugly, but now he can deal with it. And now he can do something about it, rather than denying the fact that that's why he's upset, rather than trying to pin the blame on her. He was able to name that there was something in him that he was not super fond of, something that he wanted to work on. And that's the first step in growing as a human being. So in all of this, I guess I'm just trying to say, if you're not where you want to be, that's okay. If you're not where you want to be as a reseller, that's okay. But be realistic about what your end goal is, and be realistic about how you're going to get there. Don't only pay attention to the people who are like 5-10 years ahead of you, but pay attention to what the people alongside you are doing, the other people who started up around the same time as you, and see what they're doing right. You can also learn lessons from the people who have been doing this for a long time, but I think there's a lot to learn as well from other up-and-comers or people who are running the race the same pace as you, and to say, what's working for you? What's working for you? Steal ideas from them, collaborate, and grow together, because what worked for this person 5 years ago may not work for you today, because it may not even be relevant anymore. If you find yourself looking at social media and getting upset more than anything, then just stop and know that that's okay. Just start to understand a little bit more about who you are, where you're at, and the different ways that you need to grow. I don't think it necessarily says anything bad about you as a person, but I think it's just revealing that there are some emotions and just different things inside that you may need to work on, so that you can start seeing other people's successes and being happy for them, or at least like getting to a place where you can learn from them and not be angered by the fact that other people are succeeding. I will leave you with this. Like I said, I'm still honestly struggling with this. And there are still some days that are rough, and there are some days when I'm not proud of who I am. But I think what has helped me so much in terms of my own personal growth has been this community, and has been seeing the 99% of people within this reselling community who are each other's biggest cheerleaders. And that has been so beautiful and so amazing for me to see. I've seen my own students do that a lot as well. Even though I can see like in their eyes, for some of them, it's so hard for them, because we've created this culture of you will support one another no matter what. It has been beautiful to see kids cheering each other on, kids congratulating other kids when they get solos. And because I feel like I'm surrounding myself by these people who want to be the best versions of themselves all the time, it pushes me to want to be like that too. Again, I was not necessarily raised with that mentality of cheering on those around me. I was raised to think of everyone as my competition in all things, whether it was physical appearance, whether it was how well we did in school, whether it was, like what kind of jobs we got when we were older, or who we married. I mean, it's so sick, guys. But even though that's how I was raised, I feel like I'm still going through this transformation of learning how to look at other people who are successful and to be happy for them. And in doing so, I think that it brings great people into my life as well. People who want me to be successful, people who will push me to be better. And that's how I experience success. So if you are not successful right now, if you are not meeting your level of expectation, those are the things I think you can think about. Where is your energy going? Is it going towards negative thoughts and thinking negatively about yourself and other people for whatever reason? Or are you using your time and energy to find active ways to better yourself? When you see other people's successes on Instagram, does it immediately shut you down and cause you to lose motivation? Or is it the kick in the butt that you need to get back up and keep trying and try different methods and tactics? At the end of the day, if you're not successful, and this is like the hardest piece of truth to swallow, it's not everyone else's fault. Your success is something that you have to determine. You have to realize it. And if you don't get there, it's not because of everyone else who got in your way. It's because you let them. So I'm sorry for being kind of a bummer maybe, but my goal is to just give you the kick in the butt that you need to stop being so down on yourself, to stop being so hard on yourself, and just to say it is okay that you are who you are, and it is okay that you are where you are at in your business. So keep moving forward. Stop wasting time looking at the people next to you and worrying about what they're doing. Focus on your goal and do whatever it takes to get there. So that is it for this video. Again, I know it's kind of off brand for me, but it's something that I've been thinking about, something that I wanted to share with you, and I hope that it was helpful in some small way. Thanks, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.